that we've all calmed down, now that we're all relaxed, now that we've got over the title win. We've not, haven't we? It's just the party's just starting, for goodness sake. The party is just starting. Let's rub it in for as long as we can. Let's face it. Let's rub it in for as long as we can. I'm just waiting on YouTube catching up. Why isn't it caught? Streaming software seems to be taking its time. There we go. Damn adverts and stuff. YouTube's getting worse. There we go. There we go. There we go. Yes, we're all caught up. And the hand of God has just entered the room. Yes, the hand of God. Oh, wait a minute till I get it on this one just so I could see exactly what's going on. There we go. The hand of God has entered the room. And the Amstel Pier has arrived from the hand of God. Just like that. It is a Thursday evening after all. It is the start of the weekend for me. It is the start of the weekend. Here's to the hand of God. There we go. We're all ready to go. Right, let's jump in the comment section first of all. Boys just wanna have fun. Oh, boys just wanna have fun. They wanna. Don't even think about singing that. Jesus, God. Anyway, Gordon Crouch was first in. He says, evening. If I was Celtic, I'd be sitting down with O'Reilly straight after the cup final and saying that we want to build a team around you and do what we can rather than keep selling players. We can't keep selling players. Morning, Baz. Morning, Desmond Donnelly. What time is it with you these days, mate? I know that you're far, far away, but anyway, he just says the boys want to have fun. Frank Bonner says, evening. Gordon Crouch says, we all need a hand. Tam Max in the house. Wee man Sham's in his champions again. Ole Paul McCune's in the house. Monkey T's in the house. And Tam Max says, lol. Lol. We can't be singing. We can rub it in. We can rub it in. Currently 65 people watching. Make sure that you give the video a thumbs up as it does. I don't know if it helps with the algorithm, but it's just nice to be nice, isn't it? I think helping with the algorithm would probably be to share the video on social media. Hail Baz says, Jerry. Right, there's a few things I want to talk about. Obviously, Matt O'Reilly has taken to social media afterwards and says, Celtic aren't finished. He did say Celtic aren't finished on his Instagram post. And they aren't finished, but it also reminds me of last season. Matt O'Reilly posted a couple of hours ago, so proud of these guys and this club, champions again, but we are not done yet, says Matt O'Reilly. We're not done yet. When you look back to last season, Jota put out a post on social media after the cup final saying, and it was a picture with him and Matt O'Reilly, ironically, and it said that the class of 23 have the class of 23. Yeah, we're going to go there. Look, should we do everything that we can to keep Matt O'Reilly? I think it's going to be what it's going to be. I think that Alistair Johnson put Matthew. Joe Hart says huge. Well, Joe Hart's a player that's leaving. Alistair Johnson probably doesn't want to see the player leaving. Paulo Bernardo also comments it. And then Adam Ida says that he's the best amongst a few Celtic players who did comment on the post in the last couple of hours. A lot of I'm just going to say, please don't go. Not leave us, bro. Just doing capital letters just to make sure he's probably switched it off. We can comment now, and I think he probably has. Anyway, let's get back to the Celtic news. Matt O'Reilly did post, it is unlikely that Celtic will manage to hold on to him this summer. But what does it mean for us as fans? Once we've enjoyed this weekend, and then once we get to the Scottish final, questions will seriously be asked of this PLC. Do they have it within them to back the manager significantly enough to not compete in the Champions League, but hold their own? It's a completely different format in the Champions League next year. Celtic are guaranteed at least £30 million for participating in the Champions League. They are going to hit the pot of gold. Brendan Rodgers came back with a pot of cash. A bag of cans and a bag of cash. Now the board have a significant bag of cash And it's no longer the biscuit tin day mentality at Celtic Park, although the club is still run like that, as some fans are concerned. But when it comes down to it, the club has significant funds to make a good dent into bringing in some serious players that will make a significant difference to the Celtic team. By a significant difference, I don't mean players that are going to come in and be project players. I think, going by the words of Ange Postecoglou at Spurs the other evening, it's been an interesting project, this. And it was interesting that Ange said that this year has been an interesting project for him, and which all shouts to him jumping ship as quick as he can. No surprise there. But he, in his own words, he said this year has been an interesting project. As far as Celtic FC are concerned, this year has been an interesting project. And I'll say interesting project because last summer we brought in 9 players. We brought in 9 players that were project players. It hasn't worked out. It hasn't worked out. The 2 guys that were in charge of the recruitment department have now departed. They have now departed. It seems that Brendan Rodgers has got his man that he wants to bring in, although there is that connection to the City Football Group again. But he has been based down in South America, so it'll be interesting to see if we can bring in some raw talent or some experienced players from South America that can fit into the Celtic model of obviously selling on. We've tried the Asian market. I think we've pretty much got the cream of the crop out of the Asian market. It looks like the players that have came after Hatate, after Rio, after Kyogo, and Dyson, I think they're probably the best that's going to come out of that league. I don't think that we can afford anyone that maybe is going to go to the English Premiership. But Celtic need to invest wisely. They need to invest. They need to back the manager significantly. We need to bring in a goalkeeper, and we need to bring in a left back. We need to bring in, I would say, we need to bring in a better defensive midfield player. Because although Tomoki Iwata is good, he can't lace Callum McGregor's boots, I'm sorry. And people will say he's just young and all the rest of it. But for European football, we need players that understand the European game. And I just don't think that Tomoki Iwata will be one of those players. James Beattie, big shout out to you. Have yourself a championship pint for $1.99. The time that YouTube takes their 30%. In fact, do you know what I'm going to do? There is a way that people can help the channel out. If I click on this, there we go. No, I don't want that one. I need to go into 2 seconds YouTube. Because YouTube takes 30% of anything that gets paid. And what I did do is I set up through the website a payment page so that the full 98%, I think the card fees are around about 2%, but YouTube take a massive 30% off any payment that's made through YouTube, and they don't pay it out until next month. So you make that payment today, I wouldn't get paid that until the 23rd of next month. So with that being said, what you can do is you can click onto this link and then you can pay it in your own currency, and that means that the money comes direct to me in about 2 or 3 days through the website. Interesting to catch up, Baz. It'd be interesting to add up the project players and transfer fees and wages. I think, Gordon, it's a stupid amount of money. We spent the best part of 15 million odd pounds last summer, 15 to 20 million, and when you add the wages onto that, it's not worked, has it? It's not really worked. We didn't progress in Europe. Okay, we got 4 points in Europe this year, but it was the fucking easiest group that we could have had in a long time. It was the easiest group that we have had in Europe in a long time. And I think that even the manager knows that we should have been doing better. We should have been doing a lot better. And you could say, look, we had injuries and all the rest of it, but when it comes down to it, we need better standard of players. And I think some of the players that have came in, and it's going to be interesting because Celtic are going to cash in again. There is a player that Celtic put out on loan. Where is the story? Celtic, a Swedish outlet, are saying that there are 3 clubs interested in singing a winger that used to be at Celtic. Well, he still is at Celtic and he's on the books. And he is on £18,000 a week. Said Haksabanovic is on 18 grand a week. 18 grand a week. Said Haksabanovic. He was shite. Well, he wasn't shite, but he wasn't as good, and he thought he was better than what he was. Ange Postecoglou dubbed him a brilliant and excellent prospect that came into the club. He wasn't really a prospect, but even in the wake when Jota departed, you were expecting Haksabanovic to kind of crack on. He didn't. He kind of spat his dummy out with the club and Brendan. And Brendan went, well, fuck you, you're away down to Stoke. But there are 3 clubs interested in taking him on a permanent basis. An Italian trio of Verona, Torino, and Parma are keeping tabs on the situation. That means that Celtic might take a bit. Well, they only got him for about 2 million, so even if they sell him for 3 million, or even if they just recoup their money, even if Celtic just do the deed, get him off the books, and just recoup the money for the player. But said Haksabanovic is a player that Celtic will get off the books. 18,000 a week is a lot of money. I'm thinking Celtic will be of the thinking if we can take 100 grand a week off the wage bill with the likes of said Haksabanovic, with other players that are in the club. Joe Hart, there's another player that will be leaving. I mean, he was on 15 to 20,000 a week. So straight off the bat, there's the best part of 40 grand. Celtic will look at the overall budget and they'll say, player budget wise, we are looking at the best part of 100 to 200 grand a week that we can increase the budget by next season. That's players that are obviously leaving and players that will naturally come to the end of their contract. James McCarthy, to name but one. James McCarthy will come to the end of his contract and he will leave Celtic for free, having pocketed over £2 million in wages. But then that does free up a big pot of cash. And when you're looking at the best part of 200 grand a week, let's get 4 players in on 50 grand a week, big players. So what if it costs us money in the transfer market? Get that quality player in, that level of player in, the 30 to 50 grand bracket a week, decent players that can perform in the Champions League and give Brendan a little bit of a fighting chance to continue this dominance. Now, last night in the community tab, I put up a post where it spoke about the dominance that we've had at Celtic. And when you look at it, it's been a pretty successful 20-odd years, 24 years that we've had at Celtic. And I hope you liked about the COVID year. It did have some asterisks next to it. And obviously, Celtic won the league in 2000 and 2001 season, 2001, 2002. Under Martin O'Neill. And then the Rangers, with their EBTs and stuff, won the title in 2003. Celtic won it back in 2003, 2004, and then Rangers won it back this following season. And then Celtic went on to win a 3 in a row again. Again, we've done a 3 in a row between 2005 and 2008. Rangers then went on to do their own dark days. Yes, dark days. From 2008 to 2011, the Rangers, under the old format, yes, before the club died and went into liquidation with the EBTs and all the rest of it, before they got liquidated and died, they won 3 in a row. Celtic then won the league under the new manager at the time, a little guy called Neil Lennon. Neil Lennon come in and he won the league that year. And then that was the beginning of the run to 9 in a row. It was a fantastic time as a Celtic fan. Obviously, I was what you would call ball deep at that time. I was ball deep at that time, going to football twice a week, midweek and away, every single week. And it was a fantastic time. My kids were still going to the football at that time also. And then we get up to the Ronnie years, which was just a continuation to make sure that we would win the league. We weren't that great in Europe, but the away support were fantastic around that time. And that's when you knew the real fans. And the fans that I saw at Kilmarnock last night, I mean, my Instagram and my personal Facebook page were going absolutely ballistic with everyone that was at the games. And a big shout to the people that missed the buses going back to Belfast and Ireland last night because they didn't leave at full time as they were told. Anyway, we jump forward to what is known as the COVID season. Yes, the season of 2020-2021, where the Rangers won with no fans. And it affected Celtic more than anybody. But since then, Celtic decided in their wisdom that they needed a new format. They needed a new outlook. Outgoing was Peter Lawwell. and the chairman at the time, and there was a new beginning to come in, and there was a guy that came in from the rugby, Scottish rugby, who was a Celtic fan coming from Edinburgh, but he was quite astute as a businessman, but he wasn't in the in crowds at Celtic Park, and he soon became aware of that and things that he wanted to do in the way that he wanted to run the club kind of went away against some of the old team at Celtic, it has to be said, and he was quickly ushered out the door in the name of you better find yourself a new job. It's better if you find a new job rather than we sack you. But anyway, we did bring in Ange Postecoglou at the time, and that was probably the biggest change for the new era under Celtic. It set off the season where we won the double in 21-22, and then 22-23 we won the treble under Ange Postecoglou. Ange Postecoglou decided in his wisdom that he wanted to take up the offer to speak to the one and only Tottenham Hotspur, who'd never won anything in his fucking anyone can remember. And everyone said, why Spurs? Why Spurs? They're an awful club with awful fans, which Ange found out for himself. Arguing with his own fans, he's probably went home to his missus and said, fuck, I wish I never left Celtic. You know, I got Celtic fans, they got me. This fucking Spurs lot are a fucking shower of shite. But anyway, this year ushered in the new dawn and an old return of an old face to Celtic Park. And it was a man that split the fans. Let's be honest, it's a man that at the beginning of the season split the fan base. A lot of people were glad to have him back. A lot of people were loath to have him back and said that he should never darken the doors of Celtic Park again. And he stood on the front doors of Celtic Park in front of 200 people and said, there's a lot of people, there's only about 200 people here. The last time I was here, there was about fucking 10,000. To those who doubt me, come back in the end of May. And he was true to his word. He was true to his word, and he's won the championship. With winning the championships brings us automatic entry into the Champions League. With automatic entry into the Champions League gives us riches of £30 million. Get up, yes, and cry. Anyway, the PLC need to stand up and be counted. The fans have stood up and been counted all season. They have disagreed with the board on many occasions. The fans have been split right down the middle on various occasions, right at the beginning of the season. And I'll say right up to about October, just after October. The Celtic fan base were split. Together, we can achieve more than anything. Together, we can achieve more than we can when we're apart. And that was nothing but more apparent at the beginning of this season. When we were divided in the stands, the team was doing absolutely woeful. The team were coming out and having one good half. The team weren't performing to the way that Brendan Rodgers had hoped they'd be able to perform as a team. There was a lot of influential players out of the team, but Brendan Rodgers hoped that he'd be able to get all the players back and fit, and he would be able to show the type of football that he wants Celtic to play. A lot of people were saying the side-to-side Brendan football, Brendan balls pish, it's wash, get rid of Brendan, fucking get him out of here. He's going to cost us the league, he's cost us the cup, he's useless, he's past it, he's a novice. He's a fucking champion. That's what he is. You give him time, you get him to do his job, and he knows how to take Celtic over the line, and he's done that again. So it is time that the Celtic PLC stand up and be counted. Will the real fucking Slim Shady stand up? Will the real Slim Shady stand up and be counted when it comes to the transfer window? Brendan Rodgers has indicated that he would like to get his transfer business done quick. Matt O'Reilly said that they're not finished yet. And let's hope when we win the Scottish Cup that Matt O'Reilly isn't finished at Celtic. We all know that it's probably inevitable that he will go. But Brendan Rodgers will sit down with Matt O'Reilly and say, look, we do not need to sell you as a club. Financially, Celtic do not need to sell you as a player. It is your shout. It's as simple as that. Celtic and Brendan Rodgers will be saying around Matt, we want to build this team around you. Matt O'Reilly's probably then going to sit and, well, what goalkeeper are you going to bring in? What's the level of the player that you're going to bring in? That's honest questions that I think Matt O'Reilly is within his right to say, because Matt O'Reilly wants to be at the highest level. He wants to compete at the highest level. He wants to play in the Champions League. He wants to take his career as far as he can, and I think he's going to take it to the highest level. Can that be achieved with Celtic, playing the likes of St Mirren, who are in Europe, and hats off to St Mirren. And I'm away up to see another YouTuber up in Benidorm who does a lot of YouTube videos at Tenerife. I'm going up to see him on Sunday, and it's going to be quite a laugh because he's a St Mirren supporter. His brothers all support Celtic. I think he just says he's a St Mirren supporter for for YouTube, to be honest. But anyway, I think it's now time that whatever happens this summer, it's a fucking mega summer for Celtic again. It has reminiscence of the summer when Ange Postecoglou first came in. We need to go out and bring in that level of player, that level of Rio Hatate, that level of Kyogo, the level of Dyson Maeda. We need to bring players in at that level that will make them better players. And I'm being completely serious. If we get an offer for 25 million for Matt, he is off, says Jason Lee. Right, it is that time. We need to jump into the comment section because I haven't done that as of yet. And we've been going for, fuck's sake, we've been talking for 20 minutes. I just rub it on, don't I? 20 minutes. Jesus. Holy shit. I just go off in one, don't I? Anyway, first up was Jim F. He said, "Evening, Baz Boy, champions again." Gordon Crouch, spoke to him. Frank Bonner, Gordon Crouch, Tam Mack, Wee Man Sham, Paul McEwen, Monkey MTB, Tam Mack, Jerry McAteer, Desmond Donnelly, Larson, Nicolon, James Hannon, Paradise Found, Extensive 100, Michelle Shaw, even Baz and fellow Tims, smiling, wound at the hubs, love it, champion on knees. Monty says, "Evening, fellow title winners." Yes, title winners. I'm going to hate to start putting a fan on in here. It's fucking boiling. And a wee shaman says 60 million. Yeah, we're going to at least they need to spend around about that if we want to do anything. Right, I'd rather be in Celtic shoes than Rangers financially, says Tamat. Yes, it's true. This is true. And Big Mag Mental Shug says 60k a week and Mac should stay for the Champions League. Are we really going to pay him 60 grand a week? I remember there was a clause in Jota's contract. There was a clause in Jota's contract where if there was an offer came in for him, Celtic would automatically changing his contract to 45 grand a week to try and keep him at Celtic, but he wanted to take up the big money. So would 60 grand be enough for Matt O'Reilly? I think it would, and I think he'd be worth 60 grand all week long. If we do sell him, he's going to go for that kind of money. Anyway, let's get some more of the comments. I'm way behind with the comments. I'm going to skim right through. 18 grand a week. Yeah, 18 grand a week. Don't forget about McCarthy. You have not forgotten about him. We need better players for European games. Yes, we do that. Spoke about that. And I'll just skim through. Brown Warrior. Don Mackay wasn't brought in for the long term. If you believe what was going on, he was handed the keys to train, set, and then shafted and held. He knew fuck all about the dirty world of football. Brown Warrior. He was a football man. He ran Scottish rugby. It's nothing. It's no. It doesn't mean that you don't have to know anything about football to understand business. That's a stupid comment, mate. Come on, that is a silly comment. It's a silly comment. He knew how to run sports. He turned Scottish rugby into what it was. Come on, and Scottish rugby is now a highly profitable business. So you can't say that. I mean, if you look at the days that they have at Murrayfield, it's highly profitable. He knew how to market Scottish rugby around the world. So you've got to give the guy a chance. Anyway, it's done and dusted in the past. I bet Ange is still wishing he was Celtic manager, a team that supports, not a team that supports Arsenal. Yep, that's true. The Celtic way is to live within our means, and we all know that the club died spending. Yes, Tate, thumbs up for next season. What do you think? Evening all. I've missed a comment. There we go. John the truck driving legend. Hail, Baz from the Free Republic of Dunfermline. The Kingdom of Fife. And yes, it is the Kingdom of Fife. Dunfermline is the town where 7 Scottish kings are buried in Dunfermline Abbey. And it should have been the capital of Scotland. It lost out to, at the time, St Andrews, and then St Andrews lost out because of money to Edinburgh. There you go, a bit of Scottish history for you. But yes, the Free Republic of Dunfermline, the Kingdom, in the Kingdom of Fife. And I'm still old school. I still call it the Kingdom of Fife. I used to have the Kingdom of Fife on all the signage, but they took it down. Just called it Fife. Fife. It's the Kingdom of Fife. Give it the respect it's due. There's 7 kings of Scotland buried in the grounds of Dunfermline Abbey. Anyway, Stuart Ramsey says, evening, Baz and fellow Tims, hail, hail. We're still champions. Yep, just pinch myself. Fucking don't need to pinch myself. We lived it, we saw it, we breathed it, we sweated it, we nearly cried it, we shouted at the team, we dismissed Brendan Rodgers, and we came through the other side as champions. Somebody says, James, for a nice wee contract extension. Yes, hope so. James Kennedy says, I should not have went to Spurs, a defeated team. Who cares about Ange? Who cares? He's done, he's dusted. We can now speak about Ange Postecoglou in the same way that we speak about Ronnie Dyler. It's as simple as that. And people will say, oh, Steve is a better manager than Ronnie. He was only here for 2 seasons, similar to what Ronnie was. He's just part of Celtic's history. He's part of Celtic's history. Ouija Boy 1888 says, I'm sure we'll get rid of the deadwood and claw money back for a huge lump of it anyway. Yep. Martin says, evening Baz, I'm glad I got it wrong with Rodgers this season. This summer will be massive. I know there's a lot of. That's what I'm not being smug about it. I've been smug about a lot of things this season, and generally when those fuckers have lost points and rubbed it in, and people were saying, Baz, you're jumping the gun. We're not over there yet. You're jumping the gun. Don't be too smug. We could lose this title. You get a feeling. You get a feeling when boys that I speak to that go to games had that feeling as well. You know, they still had that feeling that they knew that we could get over the line, and we're going to do it. Celtic always do it. Anyway, Martin was he's glad that he got it wrong with Brendan Rodgers. Stevie says O'Reilly with O'Reilly, place him with a 3 or 4 million midfield player. Look at Jota and Tierney. Yeah, let's not look at Jota and Tierney because their careers didn't exactly go to really that good, did they? I mean, Tierney went to Arsenal, and it's like, why fucking go to Arsenal? Arsenal's never won anything for a long time, since a French dude was in charge of them way back in the 90s, wasn't it? And Arsene Wenger. Jota went purely for money and thought that he was going to walk it in that league. I think Matt O'Reilly will go to a top 3 in England or a top 3 in Spain. He knows that if he's going to go to the top of the going to do it. So yeah. Portugal Express said the Republic of Summerhill in Aberdeen. Oh, geez. Jason Lee says, I think the display last night was the beginning of the Brendan Ball era. Let's not call it Brendan Ball. We didn't call it Brendan Ball the first time. Let's get rid of this whole thing going back to the Ange era. The Ange era is done and dusted, right? We can finally put the nail in the coffin on the Ange era. It's gone, it's done, it's dusted. Brendan's come in and he's done his own thing, right? Let's not call it Brendan Ball. We don't want to call it Brendan Ball. We'll just call it Rodgers football. Then they call it Brendan Ball. I think that we need to move on as a club and as grown-ups. We need to we get over. We have. Let's face it. We now have got over the whole Ange situation. Brendan has delivered. If he delivers the Scottish Cup, he's fucking back up there as legendary status, isn't he? He's probably there all yesterday. When you seen the fans last night at the ground, when you seen the pyro that go off, and even Neil Lennon said last night, if there's no pyro, there's no party. Wait a minute. Can we set off pyro? Switch that one on. Can we set some pyro off? Is that going to show? How did I get it flashing? There we go, some pyro and that. A little bit of light. Lights. There it goes. Lots of different. Hey! No pyro, no party. Right, switch that off. It's annoying. Right, switch it back onto that. And then, see, now I've mucked up all my settings. There we go. There we go. That's a bit better. I don't even know what it looks like now. That's a bit red, isn't it? Jesus. I'm a little. Let's begin some songs again. Let's begin some songs again. I better stop because you get complaints. You get complaints about not being nice about them. Yes, people have complained. People actually got, one person actually got in direct contact and made a complaint. Said that I need to be more level-headed. Fuck off. Cry in your sleep. Cry in your sleep. No gyro, no pa. No gyro, no pyro. Fuck off. No gyro, no pyro. Fucking about half a dozen. Right, let's get back to some of the comments. Brian Malone says for Celtic, we'll get better. We need to get rid of the board. Oh, I'm over Ange. I just feel bad for him. Yeah, Jason Lee, I feel bad for Ange also. I think he was a fantastic manager. He was a fantastic guy. Speaking to people that my other half knows, family in Australia, they know that Ange has done this before. He's a journeyman. He will, when he makes his mind up, he'll make it up and go. I think he's probably made his mind up to leave Spurs, but hell mend him. It's all about Celtic. Leeds going through Norwich will make it easier for Adam Ida if Brendan wants him. Would you take Adam Ida? I mean, I think Celtic maybe will buy Adam Ida, but I think we also need to go out and buy another striker. I do think that we need a third striker in there just to push Kyogo and Adam Ida. But you never know. Maybe Brendan Rodgers can turn Adam Ida into a goal-scoring sensation. Spurs are not a good match for Ange. No, they're not. Street shitter. Right, Neil Lennon did say Neil Lennon was given some praise by Chris Boyd last night, funnily enough, which was interesting. He says, it was funny that you noticed that Chris Boyd turned his back on the title celebrations. Obviously, to look at his phone and just like not look at the Celtic title celebrations on the pitch. I thought that was quite funny. But he did say that when he signed Greg Taylor from Kilmarnock, he said, look, he's been brilliant for Celtic. Chris Boyd actually praising a Celtic player and Greg Taylor. He said, Boyd said, I think he's been brilliant for Celtic. He's been really good, and I'd love to say it. Long may it continue, but I don't. He didn't really want to see it continue. He said, "I'm not. Look, he's been a terrific signing for. He was a terrific signing for Neil. It's a great piece of recruitment, and is one of the Scottish boys that know exactly what it means to play for Celtic, and I think that's what you need. After leaving Kilmarnock, he said he's kicked on at Celtic and he's just got better and better, which will surprise a lot of Celtic players because a lot of Celtic fans, a lot of Celtic fans still to this day say, wait a minute, I'm going to put this fan on. 2 seconds. Never been on no fucking winter. There'll probably be dust fly everywhere now. Can you hear that? Fuck me, it's like an aeroplane. Oh, that's better. There's fucking dust flying everywhere. That's a bit fast, isn't it? Oh, that's cooler though. Anyway, fuck, that is a bit noisy. Is it coming through the mic? It shouldn't be coming through the mic. No, it's not. That's fine. Anyway, Duffy having another nightmare. Who cares? Ida would be good. Was good last night, but still wouldn't pay 5 million for him. You know, got enough fans. Lol, not a chance. We need to get up to the 20,000. We are sitting at 16. I get onto the screen. We are sitting at 16,568. We need to get to 20,000. We need to get to 20,000. It's funny. It's a funny old thing, YouTube, because people unsubscribe to you all the time, which is fair enough. People don't need to subscribe to you, but it just, it's nice to be nice. It's just nice to be nice. It's as simple as that. Let's get up to the 20,000 before Christmas. Anyway, right, let's get back to some Celtic news. And Matt O'Reilly, we've done that one. Matt O'Reilly, so proud of these guys, this club, the champions again, but we are not done. There was the video of the players. I take it you've all seen the video of the players jumping about the bar last night, and the big grumpy bouncer who was not happy that some of the players were getting a bit thingies, a bit over exuberant. There's not really a lot of Celtic news kicking around. It's all obviously talking about the championship last night. But I think now that we've had just 24 hours, just under 24 hours now to digest, it will be time as a fan base to look forward. And it's something that we need to do, because there will be players that will leave the club this summer. There are definitely players at the club that are not. We let Guacamakis go. Celtic should be looking for that caliber. We didn't let him go, Sandwich Boy. He wanted away. Stop saying that we'll let him go. He didn't want to play for Celtic, remember? He publicly, he was on fucking Instagram putting up silly stories on social media. So stop making out that the grumpy Greek was fucking something special. He was a bad influence within the team. Brendan Rodgers has spoke about this before. When you've got a nucleus of players that train well, they do not spit the dummy out, that even when they know they're not in the team, they get their head down and they get on with it. They don't complain. They don't come knocking on the door and saying, I should be fucking playing more game time. The big grumpy Greek was doing that in public. Stop fucking making him out to be something. He's fucking gone. He's in the past. He was an Ange Postecoglou signing. We're past that. We need to look forward. Anyway, don't get me started. I just hope we're sober to play this game on Saturday. Says Stephen Kennedy. Yeah, well, the team will be. I think the fans might not be. Vintage. Untears 2024. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Having O'Reilly next season would be great, said Vincent O'Brien. Stephen Kennedy says we need to try and persuade Matt O'Reilly the team should be built around him. It should. Just the same as what we said last season, the team should be built around Jota, but it wasn't. It wasn't. And sometimes when you look at it, Matt O'Reilly's had 3 good seasons at Celtic. What seriously can he do next with Celtic that's going to get... He can win more medals, understandably. He can get another shout in the Champions League. And he can... For me, if I was Matt O'Reilly, I would repay Celtic's faith in him with one more season. And then I would make it explicitly known to the club that you've got one more season. I'm going to stay for one more season, and then I will leave. I will ask for the transfer. So it's all about getting the best out of Matt O'Reilly. It's all about Matt O'Reilly proving himself in the Champions League at the highest level, so that he attracts the interest from the very highest clubs in Europe. That's the standard I expect Matt O'Reilly to go to. And I'm not fucking shitting about with that. Matt O'Reilly will go to the top of the game. He's not going to be like other players that have left Celtic and go for mediocre. He won't settle for mediocre. Matt O'Reilly has it in him to go to the very top. I think Matt O'Reilly would be fantastic if he was to turn around and say, I'm going to do one more year at Celtic because I've came on under Brendan Rodgers. I'm still young, and I think... Is that your Bob Doolally impersonation? Yeah, it might have been. I think that Matt O'Reilly has got that in him to go to the highest level. So I think if it was me, I would do what Larson did, and I would stay that a little bit longer, because there's not often that you're going to go to another club where you know that you're going to have this level of effect and closeness to the fans. And he's still young enough to go out and go to the highest level in England or Spain, because that's where he'll go. He'll go to either England or Spain, and he'll go to that. And personally, I want him to go to Spain because I think his style of football in Spain, he'll blow the league away. He'll blow the league away. He'll have a fantastic time here, and he'll have the fantastic weather. Goes to England, he'll get some good money. He'll have some shitty weather if he goes to Manchester. But you never know. It's closer to his family, so you don't know. It's all about... Yeah, and Richard Smith says, money talks at the end of the day. I'd rather have the chat at Christmas, Baz, when the bid came in from Madrid. They did have. And I think that Brendan Rodgers sat him down and said, we do not want to sell you just now. And Matt O'Reilly said, I want to win the league with Celtic. It's as simple as that. Was there a conversation? Let's talk about it again in the summer. That's generally the way that these things go. And I think Matt O'Reilly did say, he said, look, people have been asking me, what is the plans for this summer? Celtic's been asking him, his mum and dad's been asking him, his agent's been asking him, and he's told a lot of them, I want to focus on football. Because if I start thinking about what I'm going to be doing in 3 or 4 months' time, it's going to take my mind off the game. It's going to take my mind off when I cross over the line. Because I'm then going to start thinking, do I really want to put in 110% because I don't want to get injured in case I'm going to get this big move? So, and Matt already said that. He said, look, after Christmas, when there was stuff going on in the background, and he said, look, it had an effect. It had an effect on him as a player, and he wasn't playing at 100%. He was only down around about 75%. So I think the conversation will be had straight after the cup final, and the players have all got holidays booked, so it's going to be an interesting one. It'll just be a case of what bids come in for the player. And I do not want it to be a last minute bid. And I think Celtic are of that thinking as well. I said, if Celtic come in and say, look, Matt, if you're going to go, we would rather sell you at this end of the window. Right? We don't want to wait around to the far end of the window and then be running around trying to grab a replacement to come in and replace you as a player. They will want the deal done as quickly as possible so that it gives Brendan enough time to make sure he has the squad he wants for the first day of training. I want Brendan and the backroom staff and the club to go down the way that Ange did things over the last couple of seasons. Get the players in quick so that we know the first day of training, unless there's obviously bids come in for players and then they leave, so be it. But you want to try and get in your replacements as soon as possible. I mean, we knew Carl Starfelt was going to leave. He didn't leave till later in the window. But the club had already went out and got the replacements in Gustav Lagerbielke and Big Nob Rocky. Now, they already went out and done that. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what transpires. It will be questions that Matt O'Reilly will be asked right after the cup final, win, lose, or you can't draw because then it goes to penalties. But it is the question. Matt O'Reilly will be asked it as soon as the final whistle has happened next Saturday, a week this Saturday. He'll be asked, what's happening, Matt? You're leaving or what? Because there's 20 fucking thousand fans in that stadium saying, you better not be going anywhere, big man. Anyway, would you keep Paulo Bernardo? Interesting one. Celtic do have an option to buy with Paulo Bernardo with Benfica. I think it is in the region around about 5 million. Will Celtic take up that option? Has he done enough to prove that he can come in? He's a younger player as well. I'm not too sure. I don't know if Paulo Bernardo is up there, the same level of Callum McGregor. He had a good few games at the beginning of the season. He has that potential, but there's that question mark. He does have a European pedigree, which we'd be hoping would help us in Europe, but it depends on the money and it depends on the way that what Brendan sees as the rest of the squad. Now, I would on one case, Odom Ohm. You've never seen him all season. Is he surplus to the requirements at Celtic? Is he not good enough? Big skinny bloke. Do you see him making it at Celtic? I don't think so. He's hardly been in and around the team. There's a few people in that midfield position that you're thinking, maybe they're not going to, it's time to move them on. So there's going to be a lot of players. I mean, I think there could be anything up to around about 7 or 8 players leave Celtic this summer. As much as that, I think there could be as many as 7 or 8 players leave Celtic this summer. I expect quite it's going to look like that we're having some kind of mad crisis at Celtic, but it's not. It's going to be a case of getting out the dead wood that Ange Postecoglou had signed off on. And let's not beat about the bush. Ange Postecoglou looked over these players before Brendan was even in the door. I mean, these players aren't just produced and given to Brendan Rodgers the first day he comes through the door. This is a process that's been going on for months and months and months. So Ange Postecoglou would have seen the catalogue of players that were potentially coming into Celtic. And maybe that's where he's went, fuck this, I'm fucking looking for another job. That's like it's bargain bucket fucking stuff that we're doing here. Let's try a new project. But Paulo Bernardo, is he good enough? He's not good enough to replace Matt O'Reilly. Could he be? You've got to remember, Matt O'Reilly, when he came into Celtic, didn't get a lot of game time his first season. You think back to the first season that Matt O'Reilly came into the club, he didn't get a lot of game time. People were just saying, look, he's a young lad, he's came in for MK Dons. There was no big expectation. We're only putting a big expectation on Paulo Bernardo because he's going to cost between about 3 and 5 million pounds. We put that expectation on him because he's costing that money. We put that expectation on him because he's coming from Benfica. If Matt O'Reilly had come from Benfica, you would be expecting Matt O'Reilly to produce and be the type of player he is. So it's all about mindset and perspective, and that's why I'm not really over worried if we do go for Paulo Bernardo. Maybe it could turn into a fantastically good European pedigree player for us. just the same way that Matt O'Reilly has. Matt O'Reilly and Paulo Bernardo are different players. Yes, they are. But we've not really seen the best of Paulo Bernardo, I think. They both scored against Dedco and in the earlier fixture. Yeah, that's true. Something they say the squad needs a spring clear out and first team ready. Hunskelpers in. I think we're all agreed on that. And even Brendan Rodgers says, and Brendan Rodgers has got a nice way of putting it. Brendan Rodgers said that he wants the squad to be stronger. It's where Ange Postecoglou would talk about quality. And that was Ange Postecoglou's way of saying that you're fucking not as good. You're not as good as what you should be. But Brendan Rodgers said, look, we need to make the squad stronger. And that's his way of saying, look, the players that are there, if you're not good enough to keep James Forrest out of the team, if you're not good enough to keep James Forrest out of the team, you're maybe not going to hack it at Celtic. You know? But anyway, the good news is this evening that there are 3 teams looking at said Haksabanovic. So that's one of the ones that will be off the wage bill. Adamida, Shanklin, Celtic transfer question poised for the summer. Will we go for Shanklin? Lawrence Shanklin? I don't think so. Neil Lennon explains the moment this season that he knew Celtic would become champions. Shut up, Lenny. No, you didn't. Title party warning police pledge to crack down on bad behaviour in the heat wave. Heat wave? It's only going to be around 18 degrees in Scotland. Is that going to be a heat wave? St Mirren play Celtic at Celtic Park this Saturday. The Celtic fans are expected to travel to the city in big numbers as they do for a home game. And the police have said that it will crack down on bad behaviour in the heat wave. What's a fucking heat wave? Shut up. Oh, heat wave. Police warned over disruption this weekend as thousands of Celtic fans looked as they descend on the city centre to celebrate their latest title victory as a mini heat wave is set to hit the country. Celtic secured their 3rd league in a row against Kilmarnock last night, the 15th of May. And with a 5-0 win victory, the punters are now expected to descend on the city centre and celebrate this weekend. They will not trash the city like that team across the roads. Celtic will make it as a party atmosphere as possible. The fans will make it as a party atmosphere as possible. St Mirren travel to Celtic Park for the 12:30 kick-off and will receive the league trophy. Hats off to St Mirren for gaining access into Europe for the first time in about 32 years or something. Fans will travel to the Merchant City afterwards, and cops have vowed to keep the maintain public safety. We're going to stop Athenians fucking partying. And the Celtic players did party last night in a cocktail bar. Footage showed the Celtic players and some punters joining in. Lucky punters that were in the bar before the team arrived managed to see the Celtic team taking the microphone once or twice and making sure that everyone knew we were champions again. Ole ole. 10 degrees is a heat wave in Scotland, says Fuck Tom. Yes. Stuart Ramsey says that's good news about Hacksaw. You shouldn't wear the hoops again. No, he shouldn't. Something today says heat wave caused by Miller's meltdown. Wait a minute, this was Miller, wasn't it? Oh my God. Carlos, it's not penalty. It wasn't a send off. It wasn't a send off. That was Kenny Miller having his, and that was probably what caused the heat wave in Scotland over the past couple of days. Let's get some Spotify. Let's get some party lights on, and we'll just make sure that we do have a little sort of disco lights just to finish the evening off. This evening, we have been on air for a grand total of 48 minutes so far. There's been over 1,079 people have watched the video so far, watched this live. There's currently 233 people on the live, which is good. And we also have 108 thumbs up with a chat revenue of £6.59. Thank you for the £6.59. I'm sure YouTube will love their 30% cut. Anyway, let's grab some of the comments. before we get started. That's taps off weather, for fuck's sake. Something today says heatwave caused by Miller's mental. Angling Ayrshire says Mikey Johnson, Haxa, Lagerbelke, Kwon, Yang, all gone in the summer. Then Ohm on loan. Would you put Ohm on loan or would you just get rid of him? And that's fair shout. With that, the players Mikey Johnson, Haksabanovic, Lagerbelke, Kobayashi, Kwon, Yang, all probably need to go this summer. And then Odom on, as well as Mikey Johnson, as well as Joe Hart, and as well as the other keeper, Benji Siegrist. That's a lot of players to lose. That's basically a first team when you think about it. That we could be, they players could walk into a first team in any team in Scotland, even across the road. Port Job says taxi for James Beattie. What's James Beattie said it? Angling Ayrshire says Siegrist, Hart, and that 9 should be gone this summer. Smell the Glove says Huge Park is like the only a fan zone should be set up near the Merchant City. And never a red card, it says Stephen. The Aberdeen player, in or out? I don't know about the Aberdeen player. No project players for next season, says Stephen Kennedy. Andrew O'Hare says, great show, Baz. And that, I need to give a big shout out to a couple of guys before we leave. James Beattie, he made a $1.99 payment. Grabbed myself a pint, a championship pint for $1.99. Take away 30% for YouTube. You'll get a canya for that, so that's just under a half pint here. John, the truck driving legend, paid £5. Hail, Baz, from the Free Republic of Dunfermline. Dunfermline. It's in. and breathe. It is in the Kingdom of Fife. In the Kingdom of Fife is where the 7 kings of Scotland are buried in Dunfermline Abbey. So anytime you drive through Dunfermline, if you're any kind of Scottish patriot at all, make sure you're going to Dunfermline and pay allegiance to the 7 kings of Scotland who fucking fought the English and made sure that at that time that we weren't ruled by them. Unfortunately, what happened since then. Anyway, on that note, Stephen Kennedy, can I speak Spanish? Yes, a little bit. I'm still taking lessons, but yes, I can speak Spanish. And on that note, hasta luego. That's see you later, basically, in Spanish. Ida Kyogo would make defenders' arses collapse. The Aberdeen. Would you go for the Aberdeen guy? I don't know if I would go for him, to be honest. Joseph Murphy says, great show. And on that note, it's time to call it a night. There is starting to drop off. You can tell when it starts to drop off. It's 212 people watching. From the Kingdom of Fife, Sean Short says, thumbs up. Stephen Kennedy says, waving. Port Chopic says, Lyrell should be looking to buy Aberdeen for the Aberdeen guy for $7 million. 55% said no. And who gives a fuck? That's where I moved. Night Baz won the Celtic. And yeah, you want a little bit of Spanish? And on that note, the Celtic fans all around the world, hasta luego.